All right, today I want to look at conditions inside of Java, how we're going to use them. Now, if you've used other programming languages like Python or C, these are going to be very, very familiar to you. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. Here I've already got my main method, and I have two integers, x and y, already set up. One thing that's a little bit different is if I was in C, I could say something like if x, where I'm just looking to see if x is a non-zero value. And that would be legal. But notice inside of Java, x is giving me an error. That's because my condition has to be true. And x is an integer, not a Boolean value, so it's not true. So in Java, I have to say x equals 1. And that would work for me. If I was looking for a non-zero value, I could say something like exclamation point equals 0. Now it's looking to see, is x not equal to 0? And if that's true, my condition's met, and then anything inside my braces will work. Now my braces are technically optional. I don't have to have them there like I do. However, this is a very good standard programming practice. Because if I don't use my braces, I'm limited to a single line of code instead of my true block. And that can be challenging. So I'm going to focus on always keeping my braces. Now, what happens if that condition was not met? It was false. Well, just like in every language we've looked at so far, we have an else, and I have a block there. That's all I have to do. I have if, and my condition is true, else, and my condition is false. This makes it very, very easy to work with. So what can I put inside these true and false blocks? Well, almost any legal Java code. So I can put in another if statement, for example. And I'll say something like if y equals 0. You notice we've seen the not equal, the exclamation point equals, and the equals, the double equal sign. I also, for conditional operators, have my standard, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. Anything that you might have seen in Python, JavaScript, C and C++ is going to work almost identical as far as your conditions work. Here I can put in something like system out println. Both conditions were true. If I go and run this, you notice it prints out that both conditions were true. If I change my value for y to be 1, save and run this again, you're going to notice that I do not see that condition statement printed out anymore. That's because the first condition was true, the second one was false. As with any language, being able to nest my conditions is a really powerful tool. And quite often I'll have to do that. However, if I'm basing upon the fact that both conditions have to be true for me to do that block, I might want to look at a Boolean operator. Using two ampersands allows me to say this first condition and the condition after it. If they're both true, then my whole condition is true. Let me rewrite that real quick. I'm going to take my condition from my second if block. So I'm saying x is not equal to 0, ampersand, ampersand, meaning and y is equal to 0, then it's going to print out my statement. Now right now you notice, well, wait a second, you've got this second if block and it's showing an error. That's because I have no condition. So I'm going to just delete that out, and that will now work correctly for me. I'm going to reset y to be 0, save and run, and you'll notice that both conditions are now true. Now, in addition to the double ampersand, I have the Boolean OR. The Boolean OR says the first condition or the second condition is going to be true. And that's the exact same way it is inside of C++. So either one of my conditions can be true. Both of these, just like you would find in Python or C, are what we know as shortcut operations. That means with the ampersand or the and, the first time it sees a false condition, it's going to quit checking because it doesn't matter. However, with the or, the first time it sees a true condition, it can stop checking because the whole condition is true. And that just makes the code run a little bit faster. Now, a lot of times people ask, does it really matter? Is it really that big of a deal when we're working with our code? Well, if I just have one simple little test, that shortcut operation isn't really saving us that much. Just being honest. However, if we have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of data sets that we're checking, now that code efficiency really starts to pick up and notice. It might be a few seconds, it might be a few minutes. It depends upon how much data we're looking at, how many conditions we're testing. So we want to be setting good practices now when we're small, so when we're working with larger amounts of data, we're still efficient because it becomes second nature to us. So these are some just real quick ways that I can use my conditions: if statements, else's, and Boolean operations within my conditions. In our next video, we're going to look at more complex types of video. Things where we have multiple conditions, such as a series of else-if statements or a switch statement. So please give the video a like and check out that video, which is coming up next.